Richard Overy's review of Armando Iannucci's film The Death of Stalin Carry On Up the Kremlin, G2, the 18th of October is splendid, not least in its drawing out of the significance of its historical errors. Nevertheless, his critique omits the following consideration, which points out a positive merit of the film. The film's sardonic irony implements Stalin's own psychopathic misuse of facts and interpretation to depict him. In other words, Stalin is given more than a taste of his own disregard for truth. Stalin needs to be immersed in his own shit from an original viewpoint for us to apprehend the film's fresh exposing aspects of Stalin's psychotic identities. This film comedy is not only deadly serious, it profoundly encodes in humor the poetics of the tragedy that is Stalin's evil. Arthur Gibson, Cambridge. David Davis' claim of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact of August 1939 being all about buying time letters, the 18th of October is like similar claims about Chamberlain at Munich, risible historical revisionism. If Stalin was really concerned with buying time while Soviet reforms were completed, why was he still merrily engaged in the wholesale slaughter without trial of anyone who looked at him in a funny way, from top generals to the merest peasant? Why did the Nazi blitzkrieg on the 22nd of June 1941 take the Soviets completely by surprise, and despite umpteen warnings from other nations, why in particular did the Nazis and Soviets between 12 and the 14th of November 1940 negotiate the Soviet Union's entry into the Axis, which only failed over disagreements over spheres of influence? No, the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact was nothing more than two bullies coordinating their collective shakedown of their weaker neighbors, who, once there was nothing else left easy to despoil, began eyeing up each other to satisfy their perpetual greed, for there is no honor among thieves. Mark Boyle, Johnstone, Renfrewshire, Reading. David Davis' astonishing defense of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact and the Soviet partition of Poland with Nazi Germany. I was inevitably reminded of A.P. Herbert's satirical wartime poem Less Nonsense in 1940, when we bore the brunt we could have done, boys, with the Second Front. A continent went down a cataract, but Russia did not think it right to act. Not ready, no. And who shall call her wrong? Far better not to strike till you are strong. Better, perhaps, though this was not our fate, to make new treaties with the man you hate. How depressing that, nearly 80 years later, that shabby and cynical pact still has its advocates. Andrew Connell, Cardiff. David Davis has a rather rosette-tinted view of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. It is true that it kept a slice of Poland and the Baltic states out of Hitler's hands, at least for 22 months, but why did Stalin insist upon imposing his style of repression upon their populations, with mass deportations to Siberia and the killing of several thousand Polish officers at Khaden? Or does Davis still believe Moscow's wartime lie that the Nazis did it? Yes, the pact did buy time for Moscow, but, in that case, why did Stalin do nothing to build defenses in the newly obtained land, and why did Stalin do nothing to prepare for a German invasion, and refuse to act on the numerous reports that an invasion was in the offing? That the Soviet forces were woefully unprepared for the invasion was shown by their confused and largely ineffectual conduct as the Wehrmacht stormed in on the 22nd of June 1941. Had Stalin ordered a proper defensive strategy over the previous months, the Wehrmacht would have been stalled and repelled well before it reached, as it did, the outskirts of Moscow. Stalin squandered the temporal and territorial advantages that the pact offered. Moreover, the execution of 30,000 officers and the jailing and killing of many hundreds of thousands of civilians in Stalin's purges a few years previously hardly helped guarantee the country's military, industrial and administrative readiness for war. Or does Davis still believe that they were traitors, as Moscow insisted at the time? Dr. Paul Flowers, London. Join the debate via email guardian.letters@theguardian.com. Read more Guardian letters. Click here to visit goo.com letters.